Voltron Network.
What's up, guys? And this is our Mandalorian review, as we kind of said that we were going to do there for you guys. And once again, joining me is Ed's representing, I guess, Star Wars as well, because kind of in the that's the thing that we can kind of like both come together on, right?
Neutral
That's the kind of
ground.
join in the middle, right? The
Yeah.
neutral ground of Star Wars. But before we start, I know Ed's is a very humble guy, and he's actually very shy and retiring. So on behalf of him, I wanted to congratulate Amber Heard on her part in Aquaman 2.
Oh,
And I'm sure that Ed's is extremely happy by by everything that has happened there. So he's
just
offering.
goes to show karma doesn't exist. It just doesn't.
Do you know what it is, right? Do you know what it is? I'll tell you what, the one thing that Johnny Depp has not learned, right? And you could have gone and asked any married man in the world, right? You do not argue with a woman, right? You do not. You're gonna lose regardless, right? Whether you're right, wrong, halfway between, don't even bother, right? This guy could have been like, he could have gone off into the wilderness for a couple of years and then come back, and then it would have been all speculation, like did he, didn't he, whatever. Now, right, the jokes is this: there's a legal precedent now, so you can actually say Johnny Depp is a wife beater and he cannot sue you for it. That is the jokes. That's what he has created by this mission, and he's destroyed any semblance of any career that will be happening. And Amber Heard now walks off into the sunset as the victim of victims, and her career is now going to skyrocket because she is now the face of beaten women in Hollywood.
Domestic abuse.
Exactly, mate. So yeah.
The real criminals, the other people who she's done this to that didn't step up. Even her ex-girlfriend that she was with, that she beat up. These people could have come up and said, what the deal is and what their relationship was like, but they just sat back, kept their mouth shut. They're just as much to blame.
Yeah. That's true. I think all of them, they're all trying to protect their own careers, right? Or whatever they've got. They're just like, I want to stay out of it, man, because this woman is kind of crazy, to be honest. You don't want to get on the wrong side of Amber Heard, you know what I mean? So Ed's just, is very happy with that anyway. But just before we start on our review, we got a message through to the Facebook page of the DC vs. Marvel podcast, and I wanted to quickly address this, even though this has nothing to do with the Mandalorian review. And a guy called, not going to say his surname, but a guy called Brian messaged us, and he was very upset with me, right? Extremely upset, because I'm going on about how busy I am, how much work I'm doing, like that, right? And he goes on about how he's lost his job. He might be getting thrown out of his apartment, and I'm bragging about how much I'm doing and blah blah, and also I'm spreading the virus to everybody as well. So I don't mean to laugh, because this is a serious subject, but look, the whole thing in that was basically just me just saying why I haven't gone and done a lot of these casts there, because I'm busy. It's not to rub it into anybody to say, look, I got loads of work coming in, you guys have not much work coming in, or whatever. And I'm a surgeon, so I take coronavirus seriously. So that's all I'm really going to say about that, because I don't really want to get any more into it. But this guy was not very happy, man. So I just
really just
wanted to see. It's obviously rubbed. He said it was basically long-term listen to the show, but really had to call me out on all of this kind of stuff there. So I'm not saying it to rub it into people or anything like that, because I know that could stop tomorrow. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, just it is what it is. You know what I mean? So
Crazy times.
in crazy times, you know what I mean? So anyway, let's get on to the thing that we're actually meant to be getting onto, which was Mandalorian season 2, episode 1, right? So this is on Disney Plus, and luckily my sister-in-law had got Disney Plus for the kids. So I said to her, look, can I get your Disney Plus?
This is making you look even worse, Uz. Not only are you working so much, but you're not willing to fork out $9.99.
I was like, so I was like, can I use your login? She's like, oh, why? The kids want to watch something, do they? And I'm like, no, I want to watch the Mandalorian, please. Yes. So she's like, okay, cool. So because I take coronavirus seriously and we're in a bubble, I couldn't go over to hers to go and watch the Mandalorian, right? So that's the reason why. So after I'd watched the whole of season 1 of X-Men and part of Spider-Man, then I went on to Mandalorian. Yeah, then I went and watched Mandalorian season 2, episode 1. So yeah, man. So
what's your opinion on Disney Plus then? Just a little quick side note.
The thing is, I kind of went and I was like, okay, let me see what cartoons are here, right? So I picked out like all the old ones that I used to watch when I was a kid: X-Men, Spider-Man, Hulk, and I was just like, okay, let me just go watch through these things. I mean, some of them are a little bit ropey from what I can remember. They're a little bit ropey, but at the same time, it's like, it's nostalgic and stuff like that. I guess one of the things is that it's difficult for me to justify Disney Plus based on the fact that if you go for Prime or if you go for Netflix or something like that, for the kids there's a lot more stuff that kind of comes up and they don't watch TV that often. So like this week on Netflix, the film Richie Rich with Macaulay Culkin came up, and that was their like weekly kind of film, right? It's from like the 90 whatever it is, right? So that was their kind of like film, and they loved it. It was like, is one of those harmless kind of 90s films. So but stuff like that may not be on Disney, but there's a crap ton of these like Disney family films that I've never heard of or whatever, that is like, like Homeward Bound 5 and random stuff like that, which is like, you look at it and you're just like, what the hell? So there is a lot of content on there, and I guess it's one of those things, if you drop down into it, kind of like Amazon Prime on the surface doesn't look like it has a great deal, but when you drop into it, you're like, man, there's a lot of crap here. And the same thing with the Disney Plus is like, when you search into one bit, it takes you into all these other things, like you might like this and this. So yeah, I guess so. I mean, there's a lot of like Disney princess stuff and things like that my daughter likes, but the problem is if I encourage this too much, like my son might decide to become a Marvel fan, and I can't allow that in my household. So that's the thing. So like, this is like on Sunday, one of my son's friends, his dad, basically, I found out that he actually lives like a couple of streets away from us, and we got this big kind of park in the middle, and for the past like 5 years he's been going with his son playing football on that park, right, which is behind our house. And we'd always see them, but I never knew who they were until obviously we're going to the same school. So now what we do is on the Sundays, I take my son and he takes his son. They play football on the park and stuff like that. And we were talking, right, and he was like, yeah, he goes, you need to speak to my son, right? And I was like, what? His son's 5, right? He goes, yeah, I've been trying to get him into Batman, but he just keeps wanting Spider-Man stuff, right? And I'm like, that's exactly the same with my son. I said, what's wrong with these kids, man? And he goes, yeah, he's like, you know Batman's the best, right? And I'm like, yeah, of course, right? And I'm just thinking, okay, you know, it's a bit embarrassing for like 40-year-old blokes to be talking about stuff like this. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, we're suffering from the same issue with our
These children
sons. So
down to
kind of,
earth. They relate to the everyman, not the billionaire, the rich corporate shill, which is Bruce
I
Wayne.
guess so, and their dads are still alive. That's probably the other thing as well, right? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the problem with Marvel. It's like a worm that just burrows into your brain. I can't allow my son to have that mission going on.
Can't stop it.
That's the problem. You can't stop it, man. You can't stop it. But it's a gateway drug, right? It's like marijuana. If I let them have Spider-Man, then they're gonna move on to Iron Man and Thor. Oh God, and flipping, you know, no, I can't allow that to happen, man. So yeah, and interestingly as well, like my wife, she has no interest whatsoever in any of these things, man. Her biggest nightmare is to go and watch a Marvel film, right, or DC film, or Star Wars, or Harry Potter. She hates all of that kind of stuff. But I had the Mandalorian on, right, and she's looking at it, and she's like, "What is this?" And I said, it's kind of like a Western set in like the Star Wars universe. And she's like interested. She's doing her work on the computer, but she kept turning around, like watching this show. And I was thinking, you're turning into a fan of the Mandalorian, right?
People who say that they don't watch any superhero films or sci-fi, they're people who have a particular opinion on what that genre is. But when they actually are forced to sit and watch it, they realize, oh, this is actually a normal thing with characters and personalities and actual stories. Like for some reason, they all think it's just kidified, silly.
Yeah. They just think it's explosions and just like silliness and all that kind of stuff, man. But yeah, she was getting into it, man. I was thinking, okay, fine. So I'm gonna now, so today, this is Thursday now, so when this comes out tomorrow, I'm gonna once again play it while she is in the background and slowly just get her into that mission, until we get a Thrawn series, and then she can sit down and watch the Thrawn series at some point. So what did you think about this episode, right? So we left the kind of last one where he was he was kind of told, like, look, you've got to go and try and search out the other Mandalorians, and also try and find out a way to get him back to wherever he's meant to be, right? The child, right?
Yeah.
So we start off obviously on where he's gone to Tatooine. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously Tatooine is a major thing in Star Wars lore. In order to find out, to find out more Mandalorians, basically, right?
I'm like, it was a fine episode. Everything was nice and slick. Effects were all nice and all of that. My only frustration is that I was hoping that they learned from some of the criticism from last season in terms of this sort of Monster of the Week style of storytelling, where it's just one little contained adventure with only a tiny little nugget of a bigger story. And it's just this more, because you could not watch this first episode and jump into episode 2 and you've not missed anything. You've missed no story, big build up to anything. So I was hoping it was going to be more of a bigger arc with the storytelling, but it looks like they're just, it's work. People love it, so I guess they just keeping on with it, which is a little bit disappointing for me, if I'm honest.
It seems to be quite computer gamey, right? So it's basically like, okay, you go and do your one task or whatever,
like a
and that's and that's kind of part of like the main thing, but it can kind of live on its own, and it's this reminds me a lot of Solo, the film Solo, right? So the Solo, like, if you say to people, okay, what was the bit that you loved loads in Solo, right? And you'd have to really think hard to be like, okay, what was the bit that I really, really loved in it, right? But everybody will remember that end bit, right, where Darth Maul is there, right? Everybody remembers that Darth Maul bit. So this is what this reminds me of. It's kind of like um it's a bit what the closest TV show that I can find to this is the early Walking Dead. So when you had the early Walking Dead, you basically had the start, right? The first like 2-3 minutes where they introduce exactly what's going on. It's really exciting. You know, there might be escaping from a zombie or something like that, and then a really bad situation. And then you've got kind of like this middle section there where it's like they're going on their daily lives and like a few things might happen and stuff like that. And then right at the end is like the kicker to make you want to see the next episode, right? Whereas the bit in the middle doesn't really make you think, okay, I really want to go and see the next episode.
Yeah. I compare it to Next Generation Star Trek, where it literally is just adventure of the week. And then right at the very end, where they've settled everything's fine, and suddenly a ship appears out of nowhere. It's like, oh my God, all stations alert, and then it ends. Like that's it's that sort of storytelling. And I want more longer form storytelling, because that's what we've been that's what HBO's trained us to love now. All of Showtime, Netflix, like that's what we're used to now. So it is weird. And I get why people like it, because it is kind of old school storytelling in a way. So I don't dislike it, but part of me wants to get a bit deeper. I just don't want to see him walking around with this Yoda baby every episode.
The whole time, yeah. The talk of the town. Well, I say my town, which is basically so there's a website, a forum for dentists and oral surgeons and stuff like that. It's called Dental Town. It's like a massive website, and it basically has like on topic kind of stuff and like off topic kind of stuff. Now, a lot of the off topic stuff is like, have you seen this person's new teeth, or Simon Cowell's or something like that, right? And the talk of the town, this week is Timothy Oliphant, because this is the problem, man. I cannot concentrate on programs like this when I see Timothy Oliphant. When he walks in, the first thing is like, mate, your veneers are horrible, right? His veneers are like bad, like really bad, right? And it's like what he's done is is there's types of veneers that you can get, and one of the types that you can get is if you want to have your teeth look a certain way, right? You have to shave the teeth down in order to put porcelain on it to make it look the right way, right? However, there is a way of doing it. There's something called luminaire or thin air or whatever, which is like ultra thin porcelain, and it gets glued to the front of your teeth, right? So what it does, it can make your teeth look thicker and longer and better. But the problem is that if your teeth are a certain size anyway, you have to make these a certain thickness and a certain length to make them look like white teeth, right? And that's what guys like Timothy Oliphant have done, is like they haven't had any of their teeth cut down, they've just had these things added over the top. So then you look at it and it's like, okay, that's fine, that works if you're playing some corporate guy in New York or Wall Street or something like that. But when you're playing some low down dirty geezer in the middle of nowhere in a flipping desert, then it's like, why are your teeth so freaking white and straight? Right.
Wow.
So that ruined the entire episode there for me, is literally just seeing that and being like, shit, man, this Zenith is like wrong. I'm telling you, like, because obviously I know a lot of dentists, a lot of oral surgeons, and literally the next thing all on WhatsApp was like, dude, did you see the Mandalorian? Yeah, did you see the Mandalorian? Did you see that dude's veneers? What the hell was going on with that? The same way with Jordana Brewster from Fast and Furious.
Yeah,
she did the same thing. So she was in 1 and 2, right? And then she wasn't in 3 because that was Tokyo Drift. And then she came back in 4. When she came back in 4, she'd had the same thing done, and it's like, geez, you look like an idiot now because your lip is like all puffed out and everything, man. So it's kind of like, when we listen to a American doing a British accent, and we're like, that just sounds wrong.
Or a
It's
British
the same,
guy doing American accent.
and it's like,
Aaron Cohen in Chicago trailers. Everywhere.
yeah,
Everywhere.
exactly, and you focused on it, and that's it. So that always ruins the thing there a little bit for me. I just wonder, it just annoys me when I see these things like that. However, the episode itself was okay. I think kind of, what did you think about, there's a lot of talk about the Sand People and how they're kind of apologizing for the Sand People kind of thing or whatever.
Took a little bit away of the mystique. They've always had some mystique for me. There always just these things on the horizon that you have to run from that are dangerous. And now they've kind of made them soft and cuddly and friendly, and just if you just sit down with them and do a little bit of sign language, and everyone wants to get along. And I don't want that from my Sand People. I want the desert to be a hot, inhospitable, scary place. That's all. I like that. I like that in Star Wars, especially on Tatooine. And now they've kind of taken it away.
I kind of had to agree with you, like 100%, right? So I think a lot of the thing that they're thinking about now, obviously in this new age, is like, okay, the Sand People are like Bedouins or whatever, right? It's like Sand People are Bedouins, and it's kind of like, okay, are we looking at Bedouins in the wrong way, saying they're a bit kind of uncivilized and they just kill people or whatever?
Bedouins, and Native Americans, whoever, like the cult, the people that have just been suppressed, and on the outside.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we're looking at. However, that's kind of the reason why you have Star Wars set in these alternate. It's set in a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago, and that's the reason why you can have villains, heroes, rogues, all this kind of stuff, right? And the same way, man, I like my villains to be villains, man. I'm just like, okay, these are villainous people, right? And it's like, they might have children, okay, there might be whatever, but at the end of the day, man, there's some evil flipping people who would just go and kill you because they've crossed their land or they do whatever, right? And you cannot kind of treat them as like, as you would do comparing it with Earth, you know what I mean? Yeah. But now it's kind of like, okay, you can't be a villain, you have to have multiple shades of off you know what I mean?
What makes it worse is that it wouldn't be so bad if the settlement wasn't just humans. If they'd actually have aliens in there, then you could be fine having the bad guys out there in the desert. But because they always just Star Wars, the heroes, the people you want to sympathize with, are always just humans, and the aliens are the bad guys half the time.
Yeah.
Like, when are they gonna actually have? I think I'm actually looking forward to the Ahsoka show, because finally you'll be having an alien that's actually the star of this thing. Because I'm fed up with seeing regular people. Come on, man. Star Wars.
And that's the thing. And that's why when you look at it, it actually then you think, okay, I can understand the reason why they're doing things in certain ways, because they've got like these humans who have set up this civilization specifically to be a trading post and to steal the resources that are in that area. That the
Australian Aborigines, that's what it is.
Exactly. They come there as thieves pretty much, right? And it's like, okay, they're saying, oh, the Tusken Raiders are this, the Tusken Raiders are that. And at that point, when you're looking at that, okay, you can't say then, okay, the Tusken Raiders are bad, because you're in effect kind of feeding that stereotype. But yeah, if you had aliens there, it would be kind of like, it'll be that kind of way, you know what I mean? So I think they tried to address it a little bit, because Mandalorian said like, these people are, they're rogues and they steal and they raid and they do all this kind of stuff. But when they give their words, they give their word, kind of thing. That is, that's kind of the way about it. But
some crazy fans, we know that humans aren't actual humans from Earth, they're just humanoids, but you know what we mean, so don't get all anal with it. Come on.
Yeah, there will be somebody who's gonna say humanoid kind of thing. So I mean, this is the thing, like obviously there are certain things that when you see them maybe happen once or whatever, there's a little bit of kind of, you know, entertainment, a little bit of chuckle or whatever that you get out of it. So for example, the first time the child kind of like the cradle whatever closed up, and it's like, okay, in season 1, it's kind of like, okay, that's quite entertaining, you know, trying to hide away or whatever while all this stuff is happening. Now it's kind of like become a trope where it's like, okay, something's happening, closing up, right? And it's like, that's not an entertaining part of the thing there anymore. It's like you know, it becomes a little bit more boring, as it were, you know what I mean? So
you're gonna burn out this Yoda baby, because it became so popular and everybody wanted merch when they didn't have merch when the first season was airing. Like that's the only reason why they're keeping it around, rather than just move on with the story and make it focus on Mandalorians like it should be, and the culture and other, like, has anyone pointed out that, I could be wrong, but that looked like Boba Fett's armor that Oliphant was wearing. It had all
so it is
color, had the dent.
So you saw the end, right?
Oh, did I miss that? Shit, I think I did.
Oh dear, did he miss the end? So at the end, right? So at the end, he gets Boba Fett's armor, and you see Boba Fett at the end standing there in like rags, and he's like, and he looks, and it's like, damn, Boba Fett's still alive, because they hinted at the start, because they said this dragon thing killed a Sarlacc, right?
Yeah.
So the dragon thing kills a Sarlacc, and Boba Fett is there, and he's basically got his binoculars. You see somebody looking at Mandalorian and the child through the binoculars things, and he's got the armor, and he goes off, right? And then the person, camera pans out, pulls the thing down, and it's Boba Fett, right? So Boba Fett's gonna want his armor back at some point.
You don't actually see his face.
No, it's actually the dude. You know, the dude who played Jango Fett. Yeah, the dude, Tamura Morrison, I think his name is, the clone. It's him. He's all scarred up and everything, man, because obviously that's Sarlacc.
Oh, I did see that. Why didn't it click?
Yeah.
I just took him as a different character for some reason.
Yeah.
Shit, I completely.
That's what I was saying. Like right at the end, they have this kicker where it's like, okay, you know, you're going to go watch him, basically.
Completely blanked that. Yeah.
Oh dear, man.
But of course he would be. He's older. He's been stuck in that Sarlacc for God knows how long.
Yeah, because this is occurring kind of just after the kind of the Return of the Jedi, isn't it? I guess, like, you know,
after, and plus digestion system of the Sarlacc supposed to be like
1,000 years or some shit, basically, right? So so that's interesting. Obviously he's gonna go meeting up with that, but then Boba Fett was always a bounty hunter, right? He's always a bounty hunter. He was bounty hunter for the Empire and for Jabba, and, you know, stuff like that. So you know, the whole thing is that he's not going to be a friend, as it were, to that lot, man. He's gonna be kind of like the bad guy.
Again, because he's always been that fan favorite, and it's like, so you're gonna ruin that anti-hero that everyone seemed to love as a kid by making him the arsehole to snatch the baby and do all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, it makes him maybe it depends on if somebody's given him a bounty to get the baby, right? I guess. You know, then that's possibly going to be the way that he's gonna come into that mission. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, there is so much, like, I used to play back in the day a game called KOTOR 2, right? I never played KOTOR 1, but I used to play KOTOR 2, and a lot of that had like Mandalorian stuff in it, because it occurred, like, you know, 1,000 odd years before, like, all the Star Wars universe. So it was all about, you know, Mandalore the Great, and, you know, you'd encounter Mandalorians and stuff like that. And I know this occurs.
If you're not aware.
Yeah, and then you know, I know obviously this occurs, like, you know, a long time after, but at the same time, it would be nice if they were going and doing all those kind of things, and maybe exploring ruins and things like that. Because
I want the culture. I want more of that stuff and longer storytelling, not just you travel, you see a group of people, they're in trouble, you help them out, then you move on, and then it's like that old TV show Kung Fu with David Carradine.
Carradine, yeah.
That same formats. Like, I want something I can get my teeth into, man. Not that I
Yeah,
don't.
no,
Yeah, go.
it needs to be. I don't know who they're aiming it at as well. That's the other thing, right? Are they aiming it at? It seems like they're aiming it at a very casual viewer,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, it's kind of like if you miss an episode, okay, fine, I'll catch up the 2 episodes there in a couple of weeks' time or whatever. It doesn't seem like they're on that
Yeah.
avid,
Yeah.
like the people who, yeah, the people who are proper hungry for that kind of thing. The thing that worries me a little bit about this is any time anything is successful, you start to get clones, right? So for example, if Game of Thrones, everybody wants a Game of Thrones kind of thing there now, right? So anytime you have a very successful series, people want to copy it. So the thing is now, if the Mandalorian is becoming popular and a lot of people want to watch it, then a lot of these studios are going to be looking around thinking, okay, maybe we should copy this style for our future shows or whatever, and potentially these things will go in that kind of way.
It's possible. So far, Star Trek's avoided going back into that. Like, I'm enjoying Discovery right now. Yeah, you never know. Could be if they resurrect Stargate or something, they could end up going back to that crappy week-to-week adventure format. And that's a shame because Stargate, so much potential that has.
Yeah. And what I mean by that is mainly the DC shows copied that, because I can imagine whoever is in charge of Green Lantern sitting there right now being, wait a second, maybe we should do it this way and have one Green Lantern one week and one Green Lantern another week, and then have them kind of have a little bit at the end, a little kind of stinger at the end to join them together. That would be that would be a concern, and I wouldn't put it past Warner Brothers to be thinking about that, because they got in big trouble today actually. So which I would assume that you guys are going to be reporting on Talking at the Movies next week about. You hear the stuff about the witches. So I haven't seen the witches, and
this is that the disability thing.
Yeah. So they've got in a bit of trouble there for that. So and they obviously
actors can't act anymore, can they? They can't act as a character, and it's just not allowed to do anything now. It's just.
Well, that's the thing. I think what they were saying is that it makes people who are disabled, you're kind of looking at them as like, oh, there's something wrong with you, get away from me, kind of thing. And people shouldn't be doing that. But this is the thing, man. People are too obsessed with fixing this kind of stuff in this kind of media, whereas it's like, these kind of things are just like silly escapism, for a while, and they shouldn't be used as educational tools, especially for children.
What's the name of that dude? The greatest actor of our generation. What's his name?
Of our generation, Leo DiCaprio.
No, of the generation before us, technically, but he's alive in our time. What was it? There Will Be Blood.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, the role that broke him, that made him
My left foot.
Yeah. That could not happen now. He could not play that role now.
No. Do you know? There's so many things that you look at and you just think there's absolutely. If it happened now, it would just be hilarious, and I would love if somebody made like a comedy show or something of like an alternate universe where these things were never released and they came out now. For example, like imagine if Snow and Informer came out now, right? And can you imagine? Can you imagine? There'll be like, oh my god, this guy with his cultural appropriation of the West.
I don't know. That might slide under because there are more white rappers now than there's ever been. Like, I don't know. So maybe.
Yeah, but white rappers doing a Jamaican accent.
That was a bit.
You know, that's
made it even crazier.
Yeah. I mean, if he was from the West Indies, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, so that's the thing, man. It's like, you know, there's a lot of stuff like that is going on, and I guess that is going to feed into a lot of the stuff that we see there now. So it's potentially going to cause detriment to a lot of these things.
We'll see in Gilbert Grape, his best performance ever could not happen if it was not.
Yeah,
crazy.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. There's so many now where they're saying, okay, you need to get this person doing this role and this person doing this role. That it's just, you know, it's an absolute minefield, man. But as long as Amber Heard is you know sorted, then Ed's will be happy.
I do not want to watch Aquaman 2. That has really put me off the fact that. Like I was guessing it was going to happen anyway, but now that it's pretty much confirmed that she's coming back, it just puts the dampener on wanting to see that.
Dude, I watched Aquaman 1 again with the family, and I was like, oh, this is ropey, man. This is like, it's like there's literally, if the last 30 minutes of the battle, if that didn't happen, man. The whole film is like, it's quite bad actually. Like when you watch the film,
it's like it's in a studio the whole time, like TV.
Yeah, it's like you know, it's not a great film. So yeah, I mean, it's bizarre music choices, just like just wrong, man. So quality seems to have gone down quite a bit on some of these things. So yeah, so guys, that is our Mandalorian review. By the time this comes out, the second episode would have come out anyway. So we'll obviously have to review that. But now Ed is going in knowing and looking for Boba Fett in the second episode. Yeah. So that's the cool about it. Yeah. So guys, if you want to leave us a message about the Mandalorian, you can email us on the usual channels there. You know that it's going to be in the show notes there as well. And you can catch our show on YouTube. Although I haven't been sharing that on the Facebook page, I need to put that back on the Facebook page now.
Guys, on my podcast, Talking About Movies, we've got I think literally the world's first reaction to James Bond's No Time to Die. We've got an inside man who's seen an early cut of it, and he gave us he got
okay,
and it's like
wow, okay,
may change, but yeah.
Wow. Okay. This is interesting. I'm going to listen to that. And see what that's like. Yeah. So guys, check that out definitely. And we'll see you again soon for the main cast.
Yeah, guys.